wrongfully convicted. Who would ever put those two words together? I tell you, if I was walking down the street, I wouldn't even be thinking about those words. But when I say wrongful and I say convicted, there are a lot of black men who've been wrongfully convicted. And I have one sitting to my right. I have Charles Brown out of Cordeal. And what's amazing to me is I am chilling right now because I would never think that one of my family members could have been wrongfully convicted and even spend 19 years in jail, 7 years in jail, 16 years in jail, and nobody can do anything. Why? Because they're not properly represented. When I say that they're not properly represented, guess what? They have a
Hello?
public defender. But does a public defender
Hello?
mean that you're going to actually be able to defend your rights? Sometimes when you have a lawyer, guess what? A lot of times you can't say anything. And when you do, say, you know what, it might hurt your case. Let me argue your case. But what happens when you go into the courtroom? I tell you, sometimes you don't even know what happens when you go to the courtroom until it's over with. And then you're looking at your attorney and you're saying, what just happened? Wrongfully convicted. You know what that means? It means you're going back to jail. Wrongfully convicted means that you're going back to jail. Who would have ever thought when your attorney met with you the day before you went to jail? How wrong is that? That your public defender or your attorney, who you paid a lot of money to privately, said, I have you. I've got you. I've been working on your case, knowing that that's really not the fact, right? They took out the manila folder the night before. Wrongfully convicted. So we're here today with this panel to talk about Cordele, Georgia, to talk about men and women who are wrongfully convicted, and then to what do we do about it? How do we forge solutions? And guess what? I'll tell you this, it all starts with a judge. A judge can make an opinion to keep you in or keep you out. Thank God. You know what? Some men and women are free today. So you know what? I want to go to Charles Brown right now because the most important thing is, you know what? This is a gentleman who is passionate about this topic that I'm talking about. And not only that, he has such a personal experience because it started when he was 14 years old. And he's going to tell you his story. But more importantly, these stories should come to every single man and woman who's been wrongfully convicted. Let them out of the jail cells all across the country. This is our charge. And what do we do about it? We press the judges. We press the attorneys. Even if we have to go to the bar on the judges, there are key questions that we have to ask. And not only this, how about having the judge or the attorney fill out this one form, an anti-bribery form? Hey, we want to know if you've been bribed to keep this man in because it means your monetary gain. So I'm going to go to Charles. Charles, hello.
Well, hi, Ms. Jackson. Thank you for this opportunity to be present
here. And you're present, aren't you?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Are you wrongfully convicted?
Wrongful convicted and arrested.
Wow. So what do we plan to do about it? Because we are here today to do something about it. And let's start with the history of what's happening in Cordele, Georgia, and why each one of these placards are being right here to show that when you go to jail, you've got a number. But guess what? We're here to say that that number is not going to be wrongfully convicted and they're going to get out of jail. So tell us more.
Wow. Thank you again, Ms. Jackson. And also thank you, Brother Raheem, for this opportunity. Also Street Room for standing here with me. Also Progressive Community, Mr. Dale Williams, a good friend of mine. Thank you, guys, for being on the panel to allow the world to see across this nation of how this wrongful conviction is an issue here in Georgia. We the people demand equal justice campaign. We'll be standing strongly in this division that we see here against this wrongful conviction that we see here in Georgia. Most of these names that you guys see here that placed up here, I'm gonna start out with Gregory Odom. Gregory Odom have a court case that acted from out of Cordele, Georgia, from an appeal standpoint. We're waiting now to the judge, the Court of Appeal judge, June the 2nd of this year to make a ruling for that young man, which is my nephew, so that he can bring his case back down to the lower court to correct the injustice that was handed down by the judges in the district attorney's office in Cordele, Georgia. Marquez Thomas, he too have an active case that we have a court date pending next month, along with mine on June the 16th of 2021 in Cordia, Georgia. Marquez Summers is another individual that been slaughtered, slung around by the judges inside of the courtroom without no legal representation from the public defender's office out of Cordia, Georgia. We also have another young man, which is a friend of mine, which is Frank Coleman, from out of Cordia, Georgia. He too is in the county jail, arrested illegally behind this case number that you guys see in front of you guys. It stemmed from a prejudice, bias, retaliation from Superior Court Judge Denise Facchini out of Cordia, Georgia. I have another brother that's in the county jail right now, Rod Wesley. He too is incarcerated illegally, and it does hurt deeply for me to continue to going through these cycle of friends of mine out of Cordia, Georgia circuit that being slaughtered inside of that courtroom. Ms. Jackson, this is very touching for me,
Yes.
to move forward with
Yes.
some of the things that I'm saying, but I would like to let everyone know that June the 16th, I do have a court date that's coming up on June the 16th, and I would like for you guys to attend, to stand with us against this wrongful conviction that we hear now on this panel to address with a solution. And again, I would like for you guys to come out on that court date, if you don't mind.
Well, you know what, Charles, what I want to say, the Seattle Times came out with an article. First of all, the Seattle Times came out with an article, and it says, the Columbus Recorder's Court regularly violates the rights of poor people by denying them effective assistance or counsel, by accepting guilty pleas without advising them of their rights to a lawyer, and by issuing a pay or stay sentences that require them to pay a specified sum or go to jail if they can't. Caller, come on. What's your question?
Call, are you there?
Okay. So Peter. Peter.
Yeah, I want to go back to Mr. Brown if we could. Mr. Brown,
Yes.
can you articulate to the listening audience, the viewing audience, how the violations that are committed, how does that go? What does that look like? What are the actual violations? We titled this today, Justice in Georgia. The people demand an end to malfeasance, wrongful conduct by officials. Where's the wrongful conduct? What does that wrongful conduct look like that's being committed by the judiciary? The clerks, the DAs, the judges, the lawyers. What does that look like? Can you give us an example or two?
Wow. Thank you for that question, Mr. Pete. That question is a big one here in Georgia. The answer is no proper representation from the public defender's office here in Atlanta. That's where it begins. Without the Sixth Amendment being guaranteed and watched constitutionally over, then we're going to continue to have wrongful conviction handed down out of the state of Georgia.
So we're saying that we have one situation, two, potentially three more, many, where individual has gone before the judicial circuit, specifically in Cordeal, been charged with charges according to the Georgia Constitution, the OCGA Official Code of Georgia, or the statutes, and they have been brought into a courtroom, the Circuit of Cordeal specifically, and did not have representation and or proper representation. Are we correct?
Yes, you absolutely is correct, Mr. Pete. And those things can be proven. And the only way it can be proven is having a day in court or bring them up on charges for the intent they doing of allowing individuals from Cordeal, Georgia to go inside of a courtroom without seeing a judge. And you
So we have people being convicted without even seeing a judge.
right. I'm
Right.
saying that now. It's been that way, for years, and it been not known, heard, seen by the mass of people in Cordele, Georgia, or other people outside of that.
Or the state of
that
Georgia
district.
overall.
But speak to this, and then Boatman. Speak to that not only are your constitutional rights being violated, but the courts are also denying access to your public records. Why cannot you get your public records to defend yourself? And then when you ask your attorney to go get these public records from the district attorney's office, your lawyer who's representing you, he can't get, or she can't even get the public records. What is the problem with access within the court system to deny those constitutional rights where you can't even get your own records?
Wow. And that too is a major um, issue here in Georgia and here in Cordele. And to sum this up to Mr. Pete's question is that the Sixth Amendment being violated and you cannot get the proper representation if you cannot hold them accountable. In order for hold them accountable, you must have a day in court and ask for your record. And I say again, across the state of Georgia, if you do have behaviors pending, do it. File a open record request. And my family did say we don't think that normally works, which it does. And that's why I'm going back to court now to show the cover, the conspiracy, the corruption from that circuit, Cordele, Georgia, them judges and DA doing it intentionally against the mass of people of color. And that's where my rage and energy is stemming from right now.
Okay, so let's take the rage and energy and let's go to Boatman.
Okay, well, long as the court system, like it is, the whole justice system, like it is, we got qualified immunity and all this other stuff. They're not being held accountable or charged with nothing, violating, these poor victims' rights and stuff. As long as that keep on going, it's never gonna stop.
Wow.
They got to change the laws for the citizens, make it more righteous for everybody. There ain't be no justice if people is not being represented. You got people that's in jail houses right now that's sitting, for months without being charged. It's just really, really bogus. And people that represent us that we put in office need to step up and be accountable for, or we get somebody in there that will be.
Well, you know what? This is what I will say. You know what? Everything has to happen by documentation. How do you tell a judge, I should be out, and he has the power to let you out or not let you out? Let's go to behind the scenes of a courtroom. Peter, do you believe that the court system is monetized? Because if the court system is monetized and they're making money behind the scenes, do you think that they could let a Charles out, or they could let a Boatman out, or they could let all these individuals out and they're wrongfully convicted if they're making money?
Well, to answer that question, we see the court system, the circuits, as a judicial center. The judicial centers are actually a financial center. They're more so like a banking institution, actually. You're talking about the monetization in the background, what goes on that a lot of us are maybe not privy to. That information is coming out more and more today. All cases are monetized. All cases are monetized. Everything they do in the courtroom is about revenue and producing revenue and making money. They pretty much have a mindset in the United States today through our judiciary. They really are not more so concerned about justice and law. They're more so concerned about revenue and making money. And therein lies a great major problem and infraction in this overall process. When we go back and we look at the reconstructions that happened in the United States, we've had a couple of series of where they've reconstructed the whole structure. The entire judicial structure in the United States has been changed. So that's where some of these infractions come in. When we look at the real lawful position, according to our original Constitution, we have a government constitution, we have a corporate constitution. We have where we had lawyers and legal entities that dealt in the judicial system. Now we have a private club called the bar. that is running our
Wow.
judicial system.
All right now.
So all of these infractions are contributing greatly to the improprieties in the legal process. When we look at court deals specifically with a little bit of light background, the population is depleting. People are leaving. The industry is leaving. The ability to make money, to provide for yourself and your family, and have an adequate or decent, somewhat better level of education, health care, is waning, it's leaving. So then we have an area, a county and a city that is suffering financially. So it's turning on its citizenry and using them in a commodity situation to keep their revenue going. Again, a situation that's greatly contributing to the infractions that are going on in
So you're
core deals.
saying, what you're saying, Mr. Brown, is their budget is based on locking people up.
On predatory governance of its citizenry.
You know what? And we have a caller on 678, so we'd like to take that caller on 678. Hello, caller.
This call 67.
Hi.
Hello.
How are
Hello.
you?
Good afternoon.
Good
How you doing?
afternoon.
How you doing?
Perfect.
I'm doing good.
Thank
How
you.
about yourself?
Yes, really good. What is your question or concern?
I got about 3 questions I'd like to ask. As far as the government itself dealing with the people of color, I'd like to know, as far as what type of fields, who we can hold accountable for for the discrimination that's taking place against the people of color. Because it's clearly that the Constitution rights don't stand for the people of color. It only stands for the people of the, I'm gonna say, Caucasian race, majority.
Well,
Let me answer that.
Okay.
My brother, let's understand that we're dealing with more than one constitution. So the original de jure constitution, you can have some protections there. When you're dealing with the corporate constitution, which is more so in control now, the state of and their constitution, the state of is a corporation. So the rules and regulations, the corporate policy that goes along with that, that's all coming from the corporate side, not so much the constitutional de jure original form of government side. So I want you to have that clarity, and it will involve you articulating that subject matter and doing your own research so that you are clear. But you do have some rights there. But then we also want to clarify for melanated, so-called African American, Black, Negro, colored people in the United States. You were brought here in the definition or the mindset of this government structure. So they see you as property. So that's a whole nother set of issues that you have to deal with along those lines. So when you say that we don't have rights, somewhat we do, depending on what you're presenting and what you're falling up under with the authority. And somewhat you don't, again, depending on what you're utilizing, what you're up under, and what is the authority. What is your second? You had something to say after that?
Yeah. And what I'll say to
Okay.
that is, you know what? A lot of people want to say, first of all, you have unalienable rights by God. So you do have rights. And then, like Peter talked about, the Constitution. Have you read the Constitution?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So if you read the Constitution, there are so many protections. Not only the protections from the Constitution, but there's protections from the Bill of Rights. And you have to put in writing. See, a lot of times we're oral people and we like to talk about it rather than put it in writing and present it before these federal authorities, whether they be judges. And what I will say, you ask for the solution, right? And what the solution is all these judges take an oath of office, right? And when they take their oath of office, it's to uphold the Constitution as well as to uphold the Constitution of your state. They also take a loyalty oath too. So they have that Constitution and then they have a loyalty oath. If they violate those, then that's where our solution is. And I'll tell you this, Rutgers, let me tell you, had a newspaper article, and it says thousands of U.S. judges who broke laws or oaths remained on the bench. So what do, Charles? We get them off the bench.
That's right.
How else do you do
That's
it?
right.
You get them off the bench. How do you get them off the bench? You know what? First of all, you have to file a violation that you violated your oath of office. And you tell them how you violated your oath of office. And you might tie the defendant, you might tie the plaintiff to the judge. That plaintiff might have given money for a campaign that you see that he's connected to for his business or whatever. So just know there's things that we can do. And not only that, the real thing that you can do is every judge has a bond. When a judge has a bond, guess what you can do? You can put a claim against his bond. And let me tell you this, he'll get up off the bench right just there. You know why? Because you put a claim against his bond and he's looking around trying to figure out who will put a claim on my bond. But guess what? He's got to stop in his tracks. Once you put a claim, once you put a claim on his bond.
I can understand that terminology too, because they're like offering a service to somebody they don't pay you for the lien on.
The same thing. Same thing.
Is it okay? All right. I kind of see what you said. Okay, my second question would be, what steps can the people take knowing more about the human rights that know more about the human rights to hold violators accountable who violate their human rights or constitutional rights?
You know what? That's a really good question, and we have a professional that will be coming up in human rights, and she's got so many various degrees. But what I will tell you is, not only can a judge violate constitutional rights, they can also violate your human rights internationally as well. So you have to look at what international laws that are there on the books for wrongful conviction. And then you hit them with that, but you don't do it orally. You've got to put it on paper. And more importantly, our human rights professional, what she will say is she will go in and put it on paper, and she will ask that she become the investigator to the complaint. Did you hear me?
Yeah, I heard you.
What did I just say? What did I just say?
Yeah, you can, on your complaint, that you can recommend that you be the investigator of the complaint that you filed.
Right. That the human rights personnel asked to be the investigator inside the court system regarding that case, that wrongful conviction, okay? Or whatever subject matter inside the court that is, all right, where your rights have been violated. They can ask to be the investigator to all your cases regarding this, and how did you rule? Because I'll tell you this, in the advent of COVID, you know what the judges are doing, and I do think team members, and we're doing this, you know, as Sister Peak always says, this is God's will. The reason that we're here, because it's God's will that we're here. But let me tell you what they're doing in the court systems now. They're having court by Zoom. Who would ever want to have court by Zoom? You know, I don't want it. And what they say is you're supposed to consent to it. A lot of people are consenting to get rid of their due process rights to have court on Zoom in a judicial emergency. So many rulings have been against citizens of the United States of America in a judicial emergency, in an ex parte hearing in which you weren't present. Now, if that is not against your due process rights, I don't know what is.
And that's all against the law. And also, my brother, look up the Declaration of Human Rights. Research
Declaration of Human Rights.
Declaration of Human Rights, and read that. You can request a formal copy. So just Google it real fast, familiarize yourself with it, and then look at the enforcement entities that are involved in declaring human rights for all humans on planet Earth. It's called the Declaration on Human Rights of Human Rights. So look that up and familiarize yourself with that as well, my brother. We wish you good on your journey. Stand firm in your endeavors for knowledge and your endeavors for justice for you and your family.
And brother, we have some other callers, but I'm going to tell you the solution is put your matter on paper. And if you don't put your matter, let me tell you, my mentors used to always say that if it's not in writing, it's not worth fighting. And I don't care if you have to go, and the best way to do it, a lot of people like to file electronically. I like to go in and make sure that it is in the docket and they have rubber stamped it. It's stamped with ink, and more importantly, what citizens should also do is any document that goes into the court system, they have to notarize it. When you notarize a document, what that says is this is totally true and correct. Instead of, the judicial system running a Mack truck against you. And I'm going to tell you a case that I had as an advocate in California. What happened? She was a veteran. She was in a drop-top Mercedes in Long Beach, California, and she was in the passenger seat. Guess who received a criminal charge? She did. She had to go to court over 38 times. I was her advocate. I was flying to California. So I just happened to be there, doing some other business. I went and the judge said, "Who are you?" I said, "I am her advocate." "Well, how are you her advocate?" I said, "I'm going to tell you why. She's had 5 public defenders." How can you have 5 public defenders and every time that you go to court on all these subsequent dates, right? The public defender changes. Yeah. It was to a point where I had to end up writing a 29-page document for her. And I said, "You may have a public defender, but get this in court," right? When they got it in court, everybody didn't know what to do. And so what they did, and it was an excessive use of force because they pulled her out of the car, broke her rotator cuff. 5 people had to hold her down. When she got into the precinct, her ankles were bruised and everything. Now she's innocent. She's innocent. According to California law, she's innocent.
She's a veteran.
And she's a veteran.
Suffering from PTSD.
And she's a woman. Okay? Bottom line is, we won that case, but let me tell you how we won it. By documenting the public defender. We documented that public defender so tough and then said, "You need to sign an anti-bribery form." Once we did that, in COVID, that public defender went straight to the judge. Now, California, their doors were closed, right?
Yeah.
And of course, she said, "No, I wanted my day in court. I'm a veteran. I wanted my day in court." I said, "If they dismissed it, you better hightail running. You better run." So these are the things that happen. Right. But the reason that she got justice, now she can go to the civil side, right? But the reason that she got justice is because we papered them with evidence, right? Papered them with evidence where they couldn't. They wanted her to take veterans diversion. Why is a veteran who is innocent going to take veterans diversion? And veteran is 2 years. You know she's going to fail in something. She's not going to make it on time. Something's going to happen to that veteran. Yep. So whether she can't fulfill her terms or programming because you got to sign off on it. The same way, Charles, you sign off on a plea bargain. So in having pure justice, we have to stop signing off on plea bargains and we have to stop signing off on veterans. Now, when veterans get in trouble and criminally, you know what it says? Hey, well, you know what? They won't give me that criminal conviction if I just sign off on veterans diversion. But here's the thing. If you've been wrongfully convicted, why sign off?
Wrongfully charged.
If you've been wrongfully charged, why sign off? So you have to paper. You have to paper the system, right? In their justice so that there's a question regarding the public interest. The reason that we're all here today is because we got a question. This is a public interest, pervasive nature of the court system. Would you guys agree?
That's right.
All right. Next caller. Thank you so much. Hey, we love you. And call back after we hear some more callers.
Okay, I'll do that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Next caller. All right. So when we look at it, there is a community of people. The caller now?
Hello.
Okay, let's go. Hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you well.
Okay. So my question is, what do we need to do to stop this stuff and come together collectively?
Ooh, do you really want to know this answer?
I need to know this answer.
Okay, all right, let me tell you this. Just like Charles on the 16th, right? He's going back to court. We need to flood the courtrooms, right? Imagine if a courtroom holds 250 people, what should we be doing? There should be 250 people in that courtroom. When the judge gets to the bench and he says, all rise, when 250 people rise, guess who he's being looked at? He's being looked at by the citizens who are watching every move that he makes, every step that he takes. Okay? And all of those people are able to kind of hold him accountable. So anything he says that is totally wrong, guess what the 250 people can do? Say nothing and stand up. Okay? Say nothing and stand up. You'd be surprised. You know what? Numbers matter. But not only do numbers matter, we have to support our men and women who are being wrongfully convicted by just being in court with them. That's the biggest support ever, because that judge can see that if the one who's been wrongfully convicted, when it's time for appeal, and this is what I will say, when you're going before a judge and you have to wait on that judge's decision, right? Your public defender, or you should already have your appeal ready. You shouldn't wait for your lawyer to be having that appeal ready. You already have your appeal out, and before the judge in this case, judge, here's my letter, I appeal this case. Will you stamp it? You have to be so prepared in these cases. Don't wait till they make the decision against you, right? And because the judge will ask, well, Mr. Brown, do you have anything else to say? Yes. And what you'll say, and you'll say, I appreciate you, Judge. However, I think that in this, and as a matter of fact, I know in your ruling, that you ruled incorrectly, and I believe that your oath of office is in question. I have a note here as we were already ready to file appeal. Will you put this in the official record? You have to say things to put yourself in the official record, because remember, all courts record everything. They might tell you that they don't, and more importantly, what you can do is you can raise some funds. So if Mr. Brown is going to court on the 16th, guess what? We need to have somebody transcribing his everything. So if it costs $500, we need to raise some $500 so that everything that is being said on that day, let me tell you, the judge can't fake it.
Officially recorded.
It is officially recorded, and then what you do is, if you have to appeal, you take that recording, and then you can go appeal with that transcript. So there's so many more things that we can do.
And let me add, one other thing that we need to do, my dear sister, is we need to read. We need to go back to just simply opening up books and reading them. We don't read. We don't understand the law. We don't understand the process in law. We don't understand the procedures. We don't know the law. We don't know the rules. We don't understand the arena, the regulations. It's simply looking up what you're charged with. How many of us understand the importance of the subject matter? You're charged with this code. You were charged with this violation, and it holds this penalty. And these are the boundaries. You'll see often in a traffic ticket or a simple issue with a child, they'll issue a suggestion for you to accept a fine. The fine is over $200-300 over the allowed amount. They do it all the time, but you don't know what the allowed amount is by law because you're not reading. You don't read. So we need to familiarize ourselves heavily with law. We have to make it a serious application. Civics. We need to go back to understanding how government works, the different bodies in government on the federal side, on the state side. We need to understand the different departments that are in your state government, what they do, who's in charge of who's in charge of what, and then you must understand the law and procedures. Do not depend on an actor who has an obligation, whether you pay them or not, to participate in the function of this judicial system with or without you, for you or against you. Okay? Don't depend on them. You had better know yourself. Otherwise, your ignorance will result in you losing potentially money or your freedom and possibly your literal life, depending on what the charges are against you. So the system is set to function like it's functioning. We do have reprieves, we do have relief, but it lies in our education individually and collectively, and it lies within our collective work, how we work together as a people. When we see these wrongful death issues on TV, the dead bodies being paraded around, shot down, just ran over, just left and right. Well, when we as a people dictate to ourselves and to one another, this is the standard that we will operate within with the greater society. Here's the line. And when we hold to that line, we'll bring a swift end to the foolishness.
You know what? And also, I will say, Peter, so very powerful. What we have to understand is that we know and we put just a significant amount of power with a judge, correct?
True.
Yes,
Okay?
ma'am.
We put a significant amount of power. And when you put a significant amount of power, guess what? Or as some article said, extraordinary power. What you do is we have to go back and we have to show how that power of that judge or that lawyer is violating judicial ethical rules. Okay? Violating judicial ethical rules, right? Wait,
Yes.
that they pledged to uphold. Okay?
Took an oath to uphold.
They pledged to uphold, right? So many investigations have been found that they said, I hold dear, according to the Constitution, but they're violating their ethics. But then how many citizens go back and tell a judge that they're violating the ethical laws? Because guess what? To be all honest, Charles, is there an element of being scared to do this? Is there an element of being scared?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. The unknown. When you go inside of the courtroom with your life and freedom in the hand of a stranger, a public defender that you have no clue about and you just met today before going to court. So fear is always there. And I have a lot of friends of mine that's scared now, in prison, living daily, shoes on, hands in their pants, trying to make sure that they keep them up for getting raped. And the second thing is to make sure they stay alive. We're getting killed behind the wall, behind lives, with your public defender standing inside of another courtroom, taking another man's life. And this is a cry for help. And I feel some type of way, and I understand what you're saying, Lee Jackson. And again, fear is always there.
Yeah, because I mean, like, I'm even feeling it right now just being up here. I mean, I'm getting chills on my body because I have to put myself in those shoes and realize that guess what? Once the doors lock, do you know if they'll open again?
Right. And
once those doors lock, you know, cha-ching, will you get out? And guess what? If you have no bond, you're not getting out. The system goes into, if the judge gives you a bond, then you can get out, correct? And if they mark it so high, as LA Peak says, you might not be able to get out because you might not even have $500. You might not be able to have $1,000. So if they mark your docket no bond, what that means is that you cannot get out. So these are the things that we have to push forward with in making sure that we can get out and then we can have proper representation. And more importantly, I'm so proud of Charles Brown. And the reason I'm proud of Charles Brown, because some of those who've been in the system, do you know, they understand the system so very well that they're able to argue their own case. They're able to write their own case. They're able to, and Charles Brown it's almost like, you know, people are tutelaging under him. It's almost like, you know what, if anybody's watching, and if you're a lawyer or if you're a law school, guess what? The first person I would put, a lawyer, but the first person that I would love to put to get his JD is Charles Brown. Come on, clap for that. Yeah.
Amen.
Hey, that's the first person that I would love to get his law degree. And I'm going to switch gears. You know what? There is our
Amen.
wonderful human rights attorney who has just walked into the door, but we're going to bring her up in a minute. But I'm going to tell you this. Charles Brown, he learned. Sometimes you have to learn about the law from what is happening to you. It's amazing how you learn about what's happening to you and you perfect it. You perfect it. And while we're here, we are challenging the Cordial Judicial Circuit because the United States District
I'm
Attorney.
sorry. Caller, did we answer your question? Caller?
Hello? Yeah, oh yes, you answered my question.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So we're looking at the Cordial Judicial Circuit, correct, Charles?
Yes.
And what we're saying is the DOJ has already decided that they needed to do something about Cordial within the juvenile system from when you started at 14, right? But tell the audience, but what did they do to not give that ruling with the DOJ so much power?
Well, the document that's on the internet now that you guys can see for yourself, that Ms. Jackson is speaking on is response from the DOJ, which is Chris Core of the DOJ that made a
Thank
statement.
you.
That made a statement in 2015 after the lawsuit was settled that was filed by Southern Center for Human Rights in 2014 for the judge and the DA's misconduct. And the main one was without proper representation. There was 22 individuals, in that lawsuit itself. When Chris Cord, the DOJ did made a statement and clapped his hand of giving achievement and of that lawsuit coming to an end, which was a consent decree was settled. Now, as you guys go online on the internet and Google lawsuit Cordial, Georgia, 2014, you will see the lawsuit that was filed. But the main one is on the one with Chris
14.
Cord, the DOJ chairman. He made a statement indicating that it was a great job that they did. And they came to a resolution and enforcement consent decree indicating that that circuit should be ran like a metropolitan area because of the crime rate going up. Now, that lawsuit was settled in 2015, and it had a 3-year agreement on it, and that agreement was up in 2018. And I thank you, my Heavenly Father, for allowing me to come home in 2018. 90 days. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
90 days before that law consent decree was up. And immediately, me and my family and legal team attacked that before it came to an end. Within the 90 days, I reached out to Southern Center for Human Rights, a good friend of mine, Atia Holly. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have made it this far. So, Attorney Tia Holly from Southern Center for Human Rights, I did contact her office to get an update on the consent decree. But Chris Cord did make a statement that he was glad for the outcome of the lawsuit. But come to find out, after 90 days of me coming home, come to find out Chris Cord did anything to help us in Cordial, Georgia. Still, myself and the guy's name that you see now before or after the lawsuit, we still been held illegal and unconstitutional inside of a prison in the state of Georgia and on parole and probation, illegal.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
I'm hearing you say Chris Carr.
Core.
Are we talking about Chris Carr, who is the present Attorney General of the state of Georgia?
Yes.
So that's the same Chris Carr?
Yes.
Who was working with the Department of Justice at the time?
Yes.
And so he's aware of these infractions having been over the Department of Justice that saw the infractions and agreed to the consent decree.
Right.
And now he's the present Attorney General of Georgia today. So clearly he should be aware of the infractions that were going on. And I don't see how he could be ignorant today of the continuation of infractions that are being committed in Cordele, Georgia, the same state of Georgia that he's the attorney general over present today.
Well, the way to go a little bit more deeper, Mr. Pete, is
That's
that
right.
in 2019, Chris Core again made a statement and clapped the hand again, applying and being grateful about an open record request against the Fulton County Management Water Department back in 2019.
Right.
This is over the internet for everyone
Right.
to see. Then he made a great statement into that, like he did in the settlement of the 2014 lawsuit that was filed by Substance Center for Human Rights. And he again made a great statement in that in 2019, which you guys will see later on in the show, that he made it mandated that he would not tolerate an open record request violation in the state of Georgia, period.
Wait. Okay, I need you to look in the camera. Just say that again, because we couldn't hear you or see you. What?
Again, I say in 2019, Chris Core did make a statement and gave great concern of the achievement of the open record violation that was committed by Fulton County Water Management Department. And in that statement he made, he indicated that he will not tolerate, he will set example, he will demonstrate that if a violation of this open record request from any citizen of Georgia, he will stand with them, the citizen of Georgia. And here I am going to court June the 16th, 2021.
And how long you been waiting for an open records request?
I've been waiting out 3 years.
And Chris Carr has been the standing attorney general the whole time.
Yes. So there was a caller who asked a question, and we're going to take a break in a minute because let me tell you, we have more to come. Let me tell you, it's on fire. We're just ramping it up. Since Chris Carr said that, one of the callers asked a simple question, right? Some things are so simple. She said, and actually two callers asked that, what can we do? What can we do? We can flood Chris Carr with letters, and I know Chris Carr personally, right? And guess what? I'm no respecter of persons at all, okay? At all. We can flood Chris Carr with letters and ask him, how many open records requests have you denied, right? Because according to OCGA law, it's law that you can ask for an open records request, and you have a designated amount of time to get that those questions answered. So Charles said something very significant about open records requests. So how can the public get involved? They can get involved by sending letters, and we'll be back. We have another guest to bring up, a human rights lawyer, very woman extraordinaire, and I'll tell you, you're going to be in for a treat because I love her accent. We'll be back. I have before me a wonderful guest, right? I have our human rights attorney, and she's going to introduce herself. And what I love about this and having a human rights attorney on our team is because we take it up a notch. We talked about loyalty oaths. We talked about the oath of office. Can push that level of having an accountability. Let me tell you, everybody needs an accountability partner. And so today in the state of Georgia, I tell you, clap. I'm telling you, just clap for me. Today in the state of Georgia, we have a human rights attorney who's going to put an accountability level. Okay, accountability level to the judges. I couldn't say more. And so we're going to be dealing with wrongful conviction. Oh, we can clap again. Yeah. So now we're dealing with a multiplicity of issues. We're dealing with wrongful convictions. We're dealing with foreclosures. We're dealing with businesses that get stolen because, lawyers go into court and try to take things away. Let me tell you, the Yazoo land steal way back in Georgia, that is still happening today.
1927.
And we're going to talk, and we're going to talk about that today. It's just got a new name. It's just got foreclosures on it. And I'll tell you this, Georgia is a non-judicial state, but what they do, they go in the courtroom and they make it judicial. Does that make sense? You got a non-judicial state, and then you go into court in the magistrate court against people, And in the magistrate court, you're supposed to be only acknowledging tenant issues. How do you get into the magistrate court and you acknowledge homeowners issues? And then we have a caller. You know what, caller? Come on. Hi.
Hello.
How are you?
Hey, is this the radio show?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, it is.
What can I do? What can we do for you?
I was told to call this number about the radio show. I just
Yes.
called this number about the radio show.
Yes.
Right. You'll just listen right now, and then you'll wait until you can speak and ask a question.
Okay. Two callers. Do you have a question?
So I just stay on the line?
Yes. You can
Yes,
stay on the
please.
line.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then after so long, you might ask if you can
Okay.
ask a question.
Caller, we're gonna come back to you.
Okay.
Yes. And please mute your line. Thank you. And thank you for calling. So back to the magistrate court. It's only supposed to deal with tenant issues, but now it's dealing with homeowners issues. So we brought a human rights attorney so that she can talk about all these issues: wrongful conviction, right? Foreclosures. And here's the main thread that we're going to talk about. In the courtroom, when citizens go in the courtroom, it is scary. You don't know what to do. You don't know what's going to happen. And sometimes you got to prepare, if in case, the handcuffs are going to be on you. That's a hard thing to do when you think that you have an attorney, when you paid an attorney. So right now, I have a human rights professional, and then I also have a professional and an advocate who I work with so strongly in the foreclosure industry, and it's been amazing. So, caller, please mute your line. Thank you. Thank you. So, and then we have Charles Brown, who's going to court on June 16th. And before June 16th, we want to have at least 250 flood the courtroom in Cordele. If you've never been to Cordele, come to see Cordele. Cordele used to be a thriving railroad town, and now it's a declining city. But let me tell you, with Charles Brown and his cousin and the rest of his family and the rest of the other people, let me tell you, I don't know. We might buy houses in Cordele and, raise the level up in Cordele. So, Charles, thank you for just your commitment, because Charles is, like he said, this is not easy to deal with. This subject is not easy to deal with because everybody has a loved one who has been through this situation. And it's really hard to deal with the situation, but a call came earlier. So the first thing, I want to go to our human rights attorney, and she can introduce herself and tell you a little bit more about the steps that we're going to take forward, because two callers have asked, what are we going to do moving forward?
Okay, my name is Dr. Shalili S. Johannanan. So, most simply, they called me Lady Shelley, because nobody. I'm trying to speak.
Go ahead.
Yeah. You saying to speak higher, but that's my voice. Lady Shelley, and everybody can remember Lady Shelley, but everybody says you, so they don't really, and I understand that. So, yes, I've been in this situation fighting for justice since back in, oh my God, maybe about, say, 20 years ago. I began with having this something similar to foreclosure, was where I had a fire and the major corporation, along with the judge, was trying to steal my money. And I decided that at first, when this happened to me, I did not know what to do, just like a lot of victims.
Yes.
And, I had a panic attack. I said to my husband, I'm going to die. This is too much. And so the spirits say, well, just calm down, write your motion the way you're comfortable. And so I began to write the motion, responding back, of course, not the same way the way the lawyers did, but in my own way, ways can be understandable. And from one writing the motion until I started to cite. You watching the
Look into the camera.
Okay, so should I go on or wait? Okay, and doing the citation until in the space of a couple of months it becomes like a professional. I'm doing it the same way the lawyers are doing it. And so my point, I'm not going to stay too long on this issue, but just to say that I've been there, done that. I'm a victim of the system, and that's before I got where I am now. So I had an incident that happened to me in Clayton County, and it was very unjust. And I was indicted on the 15 counts of false charges, and I did not do anything. And so I went into the court, and the lawyer at that time was the public defender's lawyers, and I fired the lawyers and said, no, it's going to be between me and the state because they're not representing me properly. And so I went in the courtroom, and on those 15, I'm sorry, it was 25 charges that they brought against me, all false charges. I went into Clayton County Court, and at the end of the day, I beat the prosecutor and everyone in those 20-something charges and walked out. And it was at that point that I realized that I have the power to do something to change the way the judicial system operates. And there are so many victims. And as Ms. Jackson said, you always know somebody that have been a victim of the judicial system. It was not created for the people. It's a system of injustice. And there are so many victims. There's so many cases that we have now that, we're just flooded with cases. And people, the same question, what are we going to do? How do we change this? Now, I also want to say that I am also a counsel, legal representative for the United Nations. And the reason why I did not say attorney at law is that there's a difference. An attorney at law does two things. And with all respect to attorneys, I'm not saying anything against the attorneys, but I just want to say the difference is that the attorneys at law, there's either they're going to represent a victim or they're going to, in a criminal indictment, or they're going to file a lawsuit on the behalf of that victim. Now, there's no comparison with what we do because we investigate the government. And the reason for that, the Department of State will tell you if you contact them who we are, and that we investigate the government and to hold them to account, the United States government and overseas as well, and hold them to account for human rights violations. So an attorney at law does not really do that. We also monitor and oversees the judicial system. And for example, if there's a violation that a judge has been involved in a violation, we have the right to contact the judge in a letter and say, hey, we've got this complaint that you did not follow the law, you did not apply due process, or whatever the situation is, that we send them a letter and we're looking for a response. And if they do not respond, then we have different ways of how we can go after them. And so
Say that again.
we have different ways and how we can hold them to account. The judges,
yes,
the police officer, any agency of the United States, the White House, the mayor, the sheriff.
Wow.
So now, as I just say the sheriff, I just want to share an incident that is taking place right now. And we have the situation where a judge in the magistrate court in Clayton County and he issued a writ of possession on the property. So the owner of the property are elderly. The wife is in a wheelchair and the husband, they're in their 70s, almost 80 years old. And so he called me and he says to me, something's going on because I'm getting a call from that, the other side, which is trying to get him out of the property. And they're telling me to come to my door because they're doing an appraisal and the property and need to speak with me. So I advised them, do not open the door because they're up to something. And he said they still calling me. And so I said, I'm going to check into what they're doing and I'll let you know. I promise you, if they're doing something, I'm going to let you know. And so when I checked it out, the judge, I'm kept on saying judge, a lot of people doesn't know this. By law, a magistrate is not a judge. He's a magistrate and a judge is a judge. Very limited jurisdiction.
There you
as
are.
to what they can do.
That's right.
So we all make mistakes and say, Judge Jones, Judge, we are not judges. If you really investigate, you find out that a magistrate is equivalent to, in the United States, to a notary public and a justice of the peace in overseas country, but they're not judges, and their jurisdiction is limited. If you're in federal court in a case, is there a question? Oh, if you're in federal court, they have to tell you that the magistrate is available, and you have the right to say, yes, I will have the magistrate in my court. I know I don't want a magistrate, I want a judge.
Right.
So their jurisdiction is very limited.
So when you're talking about jurisdiction, tell us how jurisdiction gets mixed up. We have the Supreme Court of Georgia, right? We have the Court of Appeals, all right? Then we have the Superior Court, and then we have the Magistrate Court. How do these courts keep flip-flopping cases? Flip-flopping cases, sending them down instead of heeding to the Constitution of jurisdiction. Because if the Supreme Court kicks a case down to the Court of Appeals, right? And the Court of Appeals, this same case, Court of Appeals said we don't have jurisdiction, and the Supreme Court has jurisdiction. How do they keep flip-flopping these cases to keep having people paying money for all of these cases, but never any resolve?
You bet I just think you sort of hit the nail on the target because it said paying money.
Ooh.
So it's really, about money. And I would just, and now I'm going to kind of switch a bit from the other case because some more information that I have, and briefly address this and get back to what, first what I was saying, is if you notice, every year, the United States Supreme Court gets so many cases. And just say that they get 3,000 cases each year. What do you think happens? They will pick 10. And then have to be 10 of the most high-profile cases. Like at the time, like Troy Davis, do you remember his case?
Yeah.
Those type of cases. But then the small cases, you're never going to ever get. Wow. And guess what they do? They give the clerk the authority to dismiss your case and send it back to you. But you pay money to be heard.
That's right. So what you're saying is they don't really hear your case.
Right.
They just say that they hear their case. And I'm going to come back to you, Lady Shelley, and I'm going to go to Mr. Fisher. What do you have to say about that, Mr. Fisher? Because I know you're boiling over there.
How you doing?
I'm great.
Mr. Fisher.
The judicial system of what she's talking about is right on. And what she's dealing with is this. There's such thing called judicial legal procedure. Judicial legal procedure has gone out the window when you have gone to magistrate court when you're dealing with property. That means they don't have the jurisdiction in the first place. Now, what you're talking about is that the federal government or the Justice Department has a standard procedure for which you're supposed to follow when you're going to court. There's a step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. The reason why you're getting your cases flipped back and forth from this court to that court to the other because the judicial procedure was never followed from the very beginning. So what you're dealing with here is this. You're dealing with a guy sitting behind a bench that's not a judge, he's a cashier. He's there to pick up and collect money from whatever process is that can be adhered to according to whatever circumstances he has in front of him. Now, the other reason why the magistrate doesn't have any jurisdiction there is because he's not a court of record. Magistrate court is not a court of record. It doesn't have anything to do with property because taxes are collected on property and magistrate court doesn't collect taxes. Also, magistrate court is limited in its finances or as to what things that they can look for as to the value of the property. Everybody knows that their property is more than $1,500 or $15,000. So you're dealing with those procedures. But even when you get down to the process and you're dealing with and I'm dealing primarily with property, but it also refers to legal cases when it comes to human rights, when it comes to your violation of criminal cases in that process. What you're dealing with is a blatant violation of the whole judicial system because you're not going to get due process of law. The case has already been decided against you before you walk in the door. That's what you're dealing with. And it goes back to everything. If you're dealing with property, let's go back to slaves and slave owners and that type of thing, when sometimes slave owners would give the property to the slaves. Well, what would happen is they would create these fictitious money situations called taxes, where they're saying, okay, it's $300 that's on the taxes, knowing that the slave doesn't have any money. We've just moved that to 2021. That's all we've done. We've done the same thing. Same problem, same different back channel. That's all they basically going to. You've changed the technique. It's called legal stealing, or it is called the judicial machinery is functioning against you. What we're dealing with is a court that is operating on fraud. The courts, the first thing is this. The court has a right to be able to determine the evidence it has in front of it before it can go to trial. So if you're dealing with magistrate court and the courts and the rule of law, and I'm dealing only with the state of Georgia, is simply this, that magistrate court is to hold the case as a procedural delay until it can be heard in state or superior court. That's the only jurisdiction they have. They don't have any jurisdiction to rule in it. Any ruling that they make in magistrate court is simply overturned once it goes to superior court to be reviewed. But what happens is when it goes to superior court is supposed to determine whether or not do we have enough evidence to actually go to trial here. Now you back to a money situation again, because here's the deal. In order to do that, there's a thing called a grand jury that must be convened to determine, do we have that evidence to go to trial? So you've got up to about 31 jurors that you're going to put in there, and you're going to look at the evidence in front of it. Do these people own this house? Do they have the right of foreclosure? What are the circumstances here? Oh, was the house actually foreclosed on? Okay, or whatever the circumstances. Then you find out that these things don't exist, but they never convene a grand jury because, again, it's about money. Anytime you've got a juror sitting there, that juror has to be paid for being on duty. The county is not going to get ready to pay all of those processes for those jurors. And here's what I'm talking about. You've got 48,000 foreclosures in DeKalb County alone. Now, if you had every one of those cases in which you sit up there and actually had a grand jury, the county would basically almost go broke by doing that. But you're going to try to tell me that your human rights, that your civil and your constitutional rights are being violated by the dollar sign? That's what you're actually dealing with. You're dealing with a legal process that is determined that you are not worth the court date. You're not worth the taxpayers' money to determine this, that your constitutional values are being thrown out of the window because we're not going to pay for it. That's just simply what they're dealing with. Now, you go back away from, let's get away from property. Let's get away from theft or murder or whatever you want to call it. It's the same process, okay? Do you know that 95 to 98% of the cases that go to court and when it comes to criminal charges, when you're dealing with primarily people of color, that they get you to plea bargain?
Oh, absolutely.
They're not necessarily going to go to trial. You're going to plea bargain here. This is what we're going to do. Okay, we're going to give you 34 months here. You're going to plea bargain here. We're going to next case, boom. And they go ahead and hold you out and go ahead and lock you up. They just made a deal to get paid. Now, the federal government, saying a criminal institute pays the county or the state money to house that individual for his time frame of serving his time. It's a money deal. That's what you're talking about. If you go in the courtroom, you don't think any money is involved, then you are totally misinformed.
So, Mr. Fisher, in this, because we have foreclosure cases, we have wrongful conviction cases, right? And we're talking about money. So we know uh, money is the root of all evil. We do know that, okay? So callers have asked, you know, what do we do as citizens? And of course, Peter Brown said, you really need to read, okay? But Lady Shelley, it's more than that. Because if you don't understand what you read, okay? What if you don't understand what you read? How are you going to intelligently go into court?
Exactly. And one thing that I noticed is the African American community. You have a lot of them that even if you have free information that you want to give them to educate them, and sometimes they don't want to participate, which is for their own good. And I commend the ones who would do their research and fight like Charles and fight in the case and try to make a difference and bring a change. Of course, you have to read and you have to understand. And most of them are afraid of the judge in the black robe. I've talked to some of them. Oh, no, I'm not going there. Because they're inflict so much, fear upon them. And oh, you've been in contempt. I'm going to put you in jail and all these type of things, which is an abuse of power, abuse of authority. Unless you go into the courtroom and you're being rude and disrespectful and saying swear words and just disrupt the court, then that's when you need to be put in contempt. But they're trying to put people in contempt at the time when you're speaking, or if you have a question and they say shut up, and allow the lawyer to speak for you, and then you cannot say anything, and people are just trying to say correct them. So no, judge, you just said that I owe 10,000 is five, but you can't speak. Keep quiet. Don't speak. I'll put you in jail. So the type of power that the judges have over the people, but still, whether or not that power exists, my recommendation and my advice is still read and still research and follow the law. Now, a lot of times in the state of Georgia, the laws they're not following the law according to the letter of the law
That's
and
right.
the way it was written. And then that's why they end up with a lot of things, that are happening, a lot of illegal incarceration, a lot of people losing their homes. And I just want um, to just say something in which Mr. Fisher has said here is that when it goes in the court, and it does not matter what evidence, he could be paramason, and you go in there
That's
as
right.
what their so-called pro se person, and the attorney can walk in with no evidence and just talk just craziness and saying, this guy don't make no sense. Guess what's going to happen? He's going to have a judgment given to him by the judge, and the pro se person is not getting to be heard. And these are what, as we investigate these allegations and oversees and monitor the judiciary, these complaints are coming to my office, and I'm going to the judge and say, what did he do this? We just got a situation where someone was in the courtroom and the judge and her attorney that she paid, pressured her, and you know who she is, pressured her under duress to sign a consent order to give her property over to the other side. The gentleman that I was talking to, telling you before we switched, was that he too, and I was there, and when I tried to speak, then the judge, the magistrate wants to talk violence. But I will come out the courtroom and I will let you understand who I am.
Yes.
Because I am there to monitor you and supervise you. I'm a United Nations human rights officer. Okay. And so when I come in there, I'll give you respect and you have to give me respect.
That's right.
I'm not going to tolerate no disrespect. But it's just the same as Mr. Fisher was saying. When when the pro se person brings the evidence and say, Your Honor, here is my evidence. This is my deed. I own this property. I don't know where they're coming from talking about they buy my property and the courthouse step. What? Let me ask the question. What do you think the judge was supposed to do? He was supposed to allow them
Absolutely.
to present evidence as
Right.
proof that they own the property. But that's not being done. They just say, get out of the property. You have 2 days to get out. And these are the cases that are coming to us now.
That's right.
So that we're investigating these situations.
And so we're trying to do something.
Exactly.
We're trying to do something about it. We have a caller on the line. Caller, hello. Hello. Hello, caller. Okay. So what Lady Shelley is talking about is there's so many cases in which attorneys go to court, human rights professionals such as Lady Shelley are going in the courts now to investigate. So the judges who are going to be sitting there, they're going to be scared after a while. The same way on the other side that the citizen is scared, the judge is really gonna provide a justification to the human rights professional as to why did you make this ruling and how did you make a ruling. Caller, go ahead. Hello, caller.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I love your voice.
You all are talking about, I read the title, it says something about judicial malfeasance. Can you articulate what you mean about judicial malfeasance? Is this in several areas? Is this in one area? Can you articulate that? And I'll hang up and listen for your answer.
Yes, no, you don't have to hang up. It's in a lot of areas. Judicial malfeasance means that you have a court officer such as the judge, okay, pouring down a judicial ruling, okay? And we realize that on the other side that they are violating their oath of office and they are violating their loyalty oath to the citizens by way of the Georgia State Constitution or any state constitution, as well as the United States Constitution, because they are favoring the courts towards monetization, never giving sight to even read what's on the docket for that defendant or that defendant that turned a plaintiff, to have them get due process of law, to have that citizen not be denied truth and evidence.
Maybe can I address that?
Have a right
Yes.
to present the evidence and to have that viewed. That's the most important part of the proceeding, the evidence, facts and the law.
Right.
And so you tell the facts and you use the law to back up the facts.
Right.
But if you have one part, it's one-sided. If you have one party that are not providing anything, and a lot of time it may not be truthful. You know, I'm dealing with clients that they're in their home and someone just knock on their door 10 years later and say, guess what, you owe me money. But you never know if that person is the owner. Or we purchase your property online or at the courthouse steps. And you're saying, but where's the evidence?
Where's the evidence?
And then no one is showing it, but they goes to court and then they get to judgment and no one, you know, so then what you've seen there is a lack of due process and equal protection of law. That's just a part.
That's
what everybody's entitled to that.
Absolutely. So that's part of the malfeasance, Mr. Fisher.
What we're dealing with here is misprision of felony. We're dealing with a situation where when they get to court, they already know that they are practicing fraud. We're dealing with court fraud at its highest level. We're dealing with a situation where the case has already been determined before they get there. So what they've got is a procedure there to actually take the property or whatever the situation is. It's already been decided before they get there. Now you have basic parts of procedure and dealing with 18 United States Code 3571, which basically states this: you've got the right for to give a proper defense. You've got a right to review the evidence against you. You have the right to give a proper defense argument. But what you're also dealing with this is what is called forced compliance to a contract not held, or basically considered slavery under federal law. You're also being denied provisions of the United States Constitution. So what you're dealing with is a court that has decided, okay, we're not going to let you actually defend yourself at all. That's why it has already been decided before you walk into the door. And then you're turning around, and what you're dealing with here is what is called a breach of a contract that doesn't even exist. They're saying that you breached the contract, whatever it is. Now, breach of contract is theft by taking, okay? It is also dealing with theft by deception. And those are the issues of what you're dealing with. So now you are sitting there in a courtroom that is already set up to rob you of your process. And that's what's going on. What they need is a judge to sign off on it to make it look good. That's simply what they're doing. Right. You're dealing with an organized corporation of fraud that has been practiced over and over again. And that's the process of what you're dealing with.
And what I will say is malfeasance is also when you have a scheme of which you already know that you've been operating on for so long. When I tell you for so long, particularly in the mortgage industry and particularly within wrongful conviction, you've had a pervasive practice for so long, which is a scheme. They have the schematics down of how to keep people in jail, because remember, they privatize jails. So when you privatize jails, you know, they don't really want you to get out because it's more money for the private jail. It's more money in commissaries. It's more money for whatever you need inside the jail, whether it be underwear, whether it be cigarettes, you know, whether it be cookies and everything else. So that's the malfeasance. The malfeasance is on the other side of those who put their hand up, who take the oath of office and the loyalty oath to protect citizens under the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of their states, and they violate ethically, okay? And they actually bully their way so that you would walk away defeated, never to return in that courtroom again because you believe that you do not have the power. So the malfeasance is on the judicial side. Sir?
There's nothing that the homeowner can do to violate his rights to property other than don't pay the note.
Hello?
Hello, sir. Caller, go ahead.
Yes. I'd like to speak to Charles Brown.
Yes. Charles Brown is right here.
Yes, I'm trying to see about going to court with him.
All right. Let's clap for that. Yeah. Whoa. Yes. Yeah, so we're going to mark you. What's your name, sir?
Raymond Chatfield.
Mr. Chatfield?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, you know what? Thank you for standing up. You know what? I'm dating myself. I'm 58 years old, but I remember this show. They said, well, the real Mr. Chatfield stand up. You know, and I'm telling you, thank you, Mr. Chatfield, for standing up, because you're the first person that has stood up. And let me tell you, we need 200 more of you. So we need 199 more people to stand up, to be outside, so that these judges can see, you know what? Okay, I am being watched. That's our job, as being watchmen, as being citizens, because remember, the power is in our hand. It's we, the people, to form a more perfect union. How do we form a more perfect union? Guess what? We better pay attention to what our judges are doing. We better pay attention to what our legislators are doing, because we need more statesmen that protect the rights of citizens. Do we have any more callers? Okay. So, yes. And go ahead, because we're going to let Charles Brown speak to you, Mr. And go ahead, Charles.
Brother Chatfield, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing all right. To answer your question, June the 16th at 9 a.m., Cordell, Georgia, there will be a rendezvous. Will be a location for us to meet from Atlanta, Macon, Cordell, Valdosta, Jacksonville, Florida. This line will be coming from all four angles from the United States, from the north, west, south, and east. So there will be a flyer sent out for everyone to know the location, your general area where we will be meeting at. Thank you, Mr. Chatfield. Thank you, brother.
Yes, I love it. I love it. And see, the more the merrier. When we put the onus and the judge comes from behind there, and I'm going to tell you this, the bailiff is going to tell him that we got 200 people out there, Judge. Do you want to go out there? And you know what the judge is going to do? We got a caller. Caller, go ahead.
Yes, I would like to know what do we need to do to go to court with Charles Brown?
Yeah, the Charles
That's
Brown.
number 2. That's number 2. Charles, tell him.
Can I ask you your name?
I'm sorry.
Can
Go
I
ahead.
ask you your name?
My name is Tina Rankin Leatherwood.
Miss Leatherwood, how you doing? June the 16th is the court date at 9 a.m. Cordell, Georgia. Later on in the week, there will be a flyer sent out across the whole nation of when I go to court. And I thank you for calling in. I definitely need more calls. Please call in. We get off air at 5 p.m. Thank you, Ms. Rankin. Thank you.
So just remember, June 16th at 9 o'clock a.m., you can Google or have somebody Google for you the Cordell Judicial Circuit. There's only one, you know, like the Flintstones, you run through the town. Did I
Yes,
say
ma'am.
that? I'm sorry. Yes, there's only one judicial circuit. Thank you. So now we have 2 people going into the courtroom with Charles Brown. We have another caller. Caller. Hello.
Mm-hmm.
Hi. Okay, caller, let me tell you. This is so important to us. Let me tell you, wrongful conviction. And I'll tell you, you know, right now, just be mindful to have your friends and family on speed dial, because in the instance of Mr. Brown, hey, there was a traffic stop. You can get caught by a traffic stop and not know what to do, who to call. Next thing you know, and you know, let's say you borrowed somebody's car. What if somebody's car has something in it that you knew not of? Right now,
right?
Do they have the right to search your car? No. Unless you give them permission, right? So I would say no permission. But when you get in those situations, you don't know what can happen, okay? You don't know what that authority will have you to do. So we're bringing this up because you know what? There are a lot of people who need to be free. That's the best that I can tell you. There are a lot of people across the state of Georgia and across the U.S. that just need to be free. Caller, do you have a question?
I have a question.
Yes.
Yes, I was wondering how do you show the judges and the DAs when they abuse their authority in these certain instances where they abuse their authority, when it shows that they abuse their authority? What other steps do you take, you know what I mean, to bring justice forth?
Wow.
You know what I mean? Because they're doing this at someone's expense. They're doing it where they leave you unbondable. They leave you in these kind of ways where, you know what I mean, they're gonna make sure that you get hoodwinked, whatever you want to call it.
Good word.
What did you do?
Well, you know what? Do you really want to know the answer?
Can I answer that?
Yeah.
Do you really want to know the answer?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you go to your local courthouse, okay? You go to the probate director, okay? And you ask the probate director for the oath of office, the loyalty oath, and the bond of the judge. If it's a district attorney, you ask for the loyalty oath, the bond, and the oath of office of that district attorney. And you get it certified. Once you do all that and get it certified, you're able to call the bonding company and put a claim on their bond based on judicial malfeasance.
Malpractice or what?
Malfeasance. meaning judicial
Now,
misconduct, meaning they violated their oath of offices for which they took to be a hearing officer, should I say, or judge. Because as my colleague said, who's a human rights attorney, that some of them are not even judges. They're really hearing officers, the magistrate court. They really have no jurisdiction. So that's what you have to do. If you want to do it, you have to meet them in their ball field.
Can I elaborate on that?
Yes, you can.
What they were dealing with is a situation that's a little deeper than that too. Now that you pull on that bond, you put a file against that bond. That bond is just like an insurance claim. Somebody hits your car, you go and you file a claim against them for insurance. Now what has to happen is this: that bonding company has to pay within 60 days. They have to rectify. They have to discipline that judge or that officer or whatever. If not done so in 60 days, on the 91st day, they have to now pay that claim. If it's about property or anything else, they have to make that bond whole. I don't care if it's $1 million or $2 million, that bonding company has to make that bond whole. But there's another process too there that's a little deeper involved, in which you file an affidavit of obligation against that judge using his bond that he violated his oath of office. And that bond in itself cannot be overturned by only two things. Another judge can overturn it. Only a trial, only a jury, or the claimant himself can overturn that bond. You file that bond back into the court system itself. You also file it with the bar association. Okay, in the process, putting that judge now into a public holding pattern, stating that this is a fraudulent document, or the judge has basically violated his oath of office and the laws that pertain. Because when you're dealing with this, there are guaranteed rights. The first 10 amendments of the United States Constitution guaranteed Bill of Rights. Those are basically violated almost every day by judges. Well, the thing about it is that the people of the public really don't know what to do or how to attack this. So they sit there and just basically take it because they don't know what to do. If they go get an attorney, you got to remember that attorney is an officer of the court itself. That attorney is not going to go in there and do anything in process because he's got to practice law right there in that county, whatever. Well, in other words, I got a business to run first. So I can come in and take your money and then go in and lose the case for you. But guess what? I'm going to get paid anyway. It doesn't make any difference. So that's what we're dealing with. Yeah.
Mr. Fisher, let me ask you one question about the bond, the 60-day process. Once that 60-day process is up, what's the next step after that?
The 60-day process, okay, that bonding company must rectify. They must discipline that official, that judge, within that 60-day process. If that has not happened up on the 91st day, upon that, they must resolve. In other words, and we're dealing with more than just property here. You also have to, if there's a case involved, that case, that judge's case must be thrown out. Here's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Cynthia Becker was taken off the bench in DeKalb County about 4 years ago, simply because of the fact that this is what she did. She was presiding over a case in which her former husband, okay, was the architect for DeKalb, and he was the defendant. She called his attorney and told him if they if they drop the appeal and bring it back to her, she would throw the case out. Well, that right then, she violated her oath of office right there, so they had to remove her from the process and all her cases involved. They had to overturn any cases she had there process. That doesn't happen that often, but what happened is that the district attorney had no choice but to do something about it. And that's the process. One of the things we have to learn to do as the people is to be able to attack the actual process of what's going on. Don't just sit there and think, oh, I'll go get another attorney, that kind of thing like that. Look, you're dealing with the legal system. You got to remember, at the end of the day, a lot of these folks, the judge and the lawyer and all that, they're in the same deal. They go to the same church. They go to they're part of the same bar situation. So, but you've got to go after the money. The process is, again, it's what, like I've been saying before. The judge is a cashier. If you go after his money, if you go after the money of the court itself is bonded. You got to go after the money. You got to go at, because they don't pay attention to much of anything else. You got to put them in the right to where they have to pay. That judge has signed an oath to follow. He violates that oath, he owes. It's just as simple as that. And it's another way of attacking the process, but it gives the person the human rights. And just like the United States Constitution says, the Second Amendment, hey, if you can't follow the process of the government's not functioning, you need to change it. This is the process of doing it. You get rid of corrupt officials, or you get rid. And here's the deal: Georgia has a critical shortage of qualified judges anyway. And just like Ms. Jackson just said, half these folks ain't real judges, no way. They just got a job. They were appointed and not elected. This is what's going on. And a lot of times they bring these old retired judges back in there because they don't have any. And look, the clerk is actually doing the work. That judge walks out there on the bench and reads what the clerk says, boom, 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 that's over. That clerk also got paid behind closed doors. I guarantee you that's what actually happened. So you're dealing with a case here of where you're dealing with judicial fraud. I have filed fraud against the court, DeKalb County, on 2 or 3 different cases, that process. And what happens is this: they stay away from me like the plague. And that's what goes on. They don't won't even allow me in the courtroom anymore, especially in the cab, because when I go in there, I have beaten them. And that's the process of what they did. I've been in court 6 times. I beat them all 6 times. I'm sitting in front of a 6 or 7 figure attorney right there and making him look like he's a first-year law student. That's a problem in the judicial system, especially if I'm not a member of the bar. And that because now they have no jurisdiction over me.
And you know what, Brother Brown, I want you to say whatever you have to say, because we have 2 people who have already committed themselves, and we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people right here. So we have 10. So remember, we need 190 more people in Cordele. And remember, Mr. Brown already said that we have caravans coming. But what Mr. Fisher said is so very important. And what the human rights attorney has said is so very important, that you have to literally attack the system, okay? You don't attack the judge, you attack the system of which he sits under, okay? Now, I will tell you, they will consider it very personal. And I'm sure some of the people who I know as judges are going to be like Annette Davis Jackson, what did you say? And I'm going to say, did you hear what I said? Okay? Did you hear what I said? Because it's about taking the shackles off, okay, of people so that they can go live life, liberty, and the pursuit. Most people would say the pursuit of happiness, but it's property, life, liberty, and property, right, Speedy?
That's correct.
Article 1. But more importantly, when Mr. Fisher was beating him in court, and then juxtaposed to Mr. Brown, we look at people in their positions, right? And we hold a doctor in high esteem. We hold lawyers in high esteem. But guess what? Who's the high esteem? The lawyers who represent the human rights. Come on, you got to clap for that. That's who you hold in higher esteem, because now we have to go to a higher level. Yes.
Yes, and let me just comment on that very, very important statement that you just made. So I also take an oath of office and an oath of loyalty. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
I took an oath of office and an oath of loyalty, and loyalty to defend the Constitution of the United States and to defend the people. And it makes it difficult when the complaint is against the judicial system, because you have those that say, oh, you're betraying the system. I'm not betraying anything. I'm standing up for the right of people. And when you take an oath of office as a judge or any judicial officer, then you must follow the letter of the law before you. And if you follow the letter of the law, then you will not be investigated because you done everything okay. So when we're dealing with these type of situations, you have judges, a lot of them that doesn't follow the law. So real briefly, and my first situation, which I was talking about, was that the judge made this order to get them out of the property. That's a
Writ of possession.
Writ of possession. He did it 1 year and 6 months ago. And they called me in, and I went in, and I got rid of all of that 1 year and 6 months. They were going to their home to throw them out. And that's what we're doing right now, Clayton County, all over. When we're coming in, we're sending to the sheriff, and we're saying, listen, sheriff, I'm coming to you with respect. I will not disrespect them because I want respect as well. But I'm going to say you have to look at this. We're investigating it. And if you throw these people out of their home and it turns out that they're victims, you too can be held to account. So you better don't do that. Don't move hastily and don't get the people out. I just contacted the Clayton County Sheriff Victor Hill, and sent a letter, and they didn't go over there. They didn't throw my client.
Yes, come on, yes,
So,
yeah.
What I'm stating here is that the law is the law, and it must be followed. And guess what the law says? If a judge does not want to follow the laws and constitution, they are called trespassers of the law. So we're dealing with trespassers. We're dealing with bad judges. We're not dealing with judges. I went to the Cab County, and there was a judge paying us, and that was such very bad. I mean, everything lawful. So you do have some judges that follow the law, but then you have the majority that doesn't. And when the one that does follows the law, then you can't really see that too much because not so many of them that does that. But you have judges that follow the law. And so I also want to briefly just let me just finish on what the magistrate, again, I'm correcting myself, I'm so used to saying judge. What the magistrate do was send me this writ of possession, but he did it a year and a half ago. So there's a limitation with these writs.
So that means that it is expired.
It is null and void and no longer any good.
Right.
So you would have to go back and take a new one, new process over. So when he did that, they never contact these elderly folks and say, look, we have a writ for you. I walked into their home and Thursday, I said, look, I'm here to tell you what's going on because you didn't know. I said, when they called you and said, open your door, I told you they were up to something. I said, I just went and checked and found out the magistrate that put out this order to have you thrown out of your home. And he went like, I said, come, let's go outside. They went outside, I'm talking to him, and he started going, he's just like breathing to the point where he's going to die. We called 911 and say, get him. He's still in the hospital as we speak. But this was done on a void, expired order
of writ of possession.
That doesn't constitute anything in law. So now this man almost lost his life in the hospital based on an illegal piece of property.
How long this happened, Miss Shirley?
What do you mean?
The incident with this young man here.
Well, this just happened
last week.
Last week,
yeah.
When I said I went to the sheriff and said
he's in hospital now.
Yes.
He's in the hospital.
Wow.
So this is what's happening.
You cannot evict this man, and Sheriff Hill abide by the law in this.
And we got to clap for the human rights attorney because this is so very important when you talk about people intervening. The same way that we're going to intervene in Charles Brown. And here's my hope for Charles Brown on the 16th. That even before the 16th, right, they dismiss his case. I mean, this is the hope I have because you know what? You're fighting up against a system, right? My mother used to always tell me, hey, Annette, you're going to have to learn how the system. And I'm like, no, I'm not trying to do all that. But she was telling me a different thing, which my green ears did not understand. She was telling me, learn systems inside out. And I think all of us have learned systems inside out, and you have to study systems inside out. And then you have to learn against the unlawful who are sitting in the seat of authority, right? So today we are here. This is not the last time that we're going to be here before you because we're here to present information. But my prayer on the 16th is for Charles Brown, for them to dismiss his case. I want the lawyer to go running into court or whatever saying, hey, these 250 and they're about to assemble, and it's best that we let him go, right? Sometimes pressure is so very important. And I will say that on the judiciary, look, we love you. We're just putting some friendly pressure, okay? You're right. We're not mad at you, okay? Oh, you can clap for that. Come on. Yeah, we're just putting some friendly pressure on you.
So
yes.
That, the United Nations have a program and it's called the child observation, which is self-explaining. We observe the child. So we will come in United Nations, the name on the because the United Nations is doing that, not really me, but the United Nations is doing it. And so we will go in like, say, like 7, 8 officers and investigators that are going to sit in the court from the beginning, and we're going to take notes and monitor the judiciary. So this is so very important because whether it's a pro se person that's going alone and say, I'm afraid I'm going to be railroaded, we are the people that
the accountability,
because we're going to come in there, and the judge is not going to violate the law when this situation, when they see United Nations or inside there.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that's it. Because sometimes, I'll tell you, ladies and gentlemen, you know what? There's a lot of times when we can't do things on our own. We have to talk to as many people to figure out who do we connect to. You know, hey, you keep researching and researching and researching, and Mr. Fisher could tell you, you know what, he's been the research girl since he's been 12, okay? All right, and now he's 13, so, you know.
Next week.
Yeah, you know, but
he learned a lot within 1 year.
Yeah, he learned a lot within 1 year. That's good.
I can read.
Yes, so we have fun with this, but you know what? The law should be in every elementary school, middle school, and high school because it's so very important. We're a land of laws, okay? We're a land of laws, but is our elected officials supposed to be using the laws against us? No, I say not, because what happens here, we have ethical laws. So they're violating ethical laws as well. So we're so happy that we're here today before you, because we have a message to get out to anybody that, you know what, you can win. You can win. You can win. And the other message is to the youth, right? We don't want our youth to have to go through these things anymore. You know what? And our youth are going to have to understand, look, depend upon us for your wisdom so you don't get locked up in the system, right? And they throw away the key for 30 years. And I'm going to go we have another caller before we're about to end. Yes, caller. Hello.
Hello, yes. I'm actually just now tuning in. I'm sorry I'm late tuning in.
No, that's okay.
And I came on early and I had some difficulties with my phone. I want to call and ask Charles Brown to see how can someone go to court with him.
Yes! Yay! That's our third individual, Charles Brown.
Can I ask you your name?
Yes, my name is Ernest Jackson.
Mr. Ernest Jackson, how you doing? June 16th at 9 a.m., we will be meeting in your area. Matter of fact, at Stone Mountain area. We'll be meeting in your area at Walmart parking lot. Later on in the week, there will be a flyer, a notification to the public of where we're going to be meeting from South Carolina to Georgia to Florida out west. So I will be passing it down. Thank you, big bro, for calling in, man. I really appreciate that.
Yes, and can you imagine, you know what, can you imagine what it's going to be like? What it's going to be like when Charles Brown not only has a support, but Lady Shelley has already done her work, as she said, to be an official representative with the United Nations inside the court. And this is what people have to understand. She had to facilitate documentation to have that. She couldn't just walk inside the court. She couldn't just walk inside the court and say, I'm Lady Shelley, I'm an attorney. She had to do the process, go through the proper process for her to be approved. And this is throughout the judicial circuit in Georgia. I'm so excited. Caller, yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Oh, okay, there's another call. Okay, hello, caller.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah. Oh.
Hi, this is Tawanda Graves. I was just calling in.
Hi, Tawanda. What's your
Hi.
question? What's your question?
I have a question, just listening in.
Oh, you know what? Well, thank you so much. But we know what you've been doing in our state and other states, and we just thank you so very much. Let me tell you, it takes all of us. one person can't do it all. And you know what? I have to applaud the wives who are dealing with this stuff with their mates. I have to applaud the husbands who are dealing with it, because I know husbands who have had to see their wives go to jail and they were financial agents. I mean, like, and they were wrongfully convicted. So you know what? It's amazing. So to end, I want to remember our thread, and our thread is we demand change now. Our thread is that no peace, no justice. Our thread is wrongdoing to people of color. And let me tell you, this is not a race thing. You know what? This is a proper thing that we're doing, okay? It's not a race
It's
thing.
a human rights thing.
It's a proper thing. It's a human rights thing. And we're so glad to have Lady Shelley on board, because it takes a different perspective. And we have 3 minutes to go. And it's so very important. And I want to end with Charles Brown, because Charles Brown has been the impetus to all that we do. And I want to talk about, before we get to Charles Brown, I want to tell you about a group called the Street Groomers. And the Street Groomers had such an amazing leader. His name was Haroon. And he had an amazing leader, you know? And they used to say that he would stand erect, 6'10", and talk truth to power. But he didn't really have to say anything, because his size said everything. But when he got up to the mic, he so prolifically spoke. I understand that you're doing this. I think that you better do right by the people. The reason that we're here today, from the Street Groomers perspective, because we're the ones that put boots on the ground, is you must do right by the people. You must do right by the people. Why? Because you can clap for that. Yes, yes. You've got to do right by the people, because the people are the power. All these lives that you see up here with wrongful convictions, they're people, right? A mother bore them. Can you imagine what mothers go through when they have their sons and their daughters a part of this system? But let me tell you this. What I do know, I'm going to Charles Brown. What I do know, there is restorative justice. Charles Brown, close this out.
I want to close out and say to Ms. Shelley, Dr. Lady Shelley, that thank you for believing in what I said to you. That means a great deal to me. Not knowing last year I would meet you guys. And I want to say thank you for that, and giving thanks to my Heavenly Father. And I give my commitment, understanding to you from first-hand basis. I will be with you 110%. Also, Mr. Fisher, I say the same thing to you. And I don't even know you guys.
You're welcome.
Right, I don't even know. So with that said, Street Groomers, you already know. Salute on that, Brother Pete, Brother Raheem. Thank you, and your wife for standing in. And also my wife, Miss Carmen Brown. Thank you, Miss Anita Jackson.
Yeah, and you know what? And I'm so thankful, because I mean, you know, I'm in the perfect spot to deliver a great prudence, right? And if these judges has ever been prudent, 2021 is the time, right? If they never understood what being prudent is, they're going to understand with our team, because God has given us the will and the timing, you know, for such a time as this. You know, we talk about Black Wall Street, and as we speak, Stonecrest is doing the new Black Wall Street. But let me tell you what the new Black Wall Street is, right? The new Black Wall Street is, let our men and women out of these prisons so they can go on to claim the land that they once owned, okay? That's the new Black Wall Street. The new Black Wall Street is not having any other Black American or American be in the prison cells not to get to their God-given talent. I'm going to end there, and thank you, Raheem. Oh, yes. Yes, and let me tell you, DKM, if I had to do a dance, I don't even know what I would do a dance regarding. But you know, I can just chair dance and say,
Don't do that.
On behalf,
Gay Sunday.
On behalf, we gotta have fun in this, because
Gay
let me
Sunday.
tell you, this work is difficult, but let me tell you, it is so rewarding. So we thank DKM Radio, and let me tell you, there are times when I get on, and let me tell you, the discussions are truly, when I say truly amazing, and I'll tell you this, DKM Radio audience, I told Raheem, I said, you know what, I'm going to whip you in tennis. We still have yet to get that together. But let me tell you, The reason I'm saying that is because we're playing tennis in the court system. Guess what? The judge shoots it back. What do? Like I told Charles, we appeal. Okay? The lawyer acts crazy. You better appeal my stuff. Bam! You know? Okay? Oh, you see us again? Oh, bam, we're appealing. Okay?
Y'all got crooked line judges.
Yes. So the bottom line, what the citizen has in their favor is whatever judgment that is improper within the court system, we have all the rights available to us to appeal, even to the United States Supreme Court. And I'll end there.
All right.